And we've got some good news for you. Britain is now the world's fourth biggest exporter. We've overtaken France, we've overtaken the Netherlands, and we've overtaken even Japan.
Which Business Secretary Kemi Badenoch says shows the UK is punching above its weight on trade. This comes despite concerns that Brexit would, of course, hinder international trade. Well, it looks like for exports, it's been not too bad at all. Let's get the details now with GB News economics and business editor Liam Halligan with On the Money. Liam, little old us, fourth biggest exporter in the world. Is this true?
Little old us, yeah. The UK is the world's biggest exporter of financial services, by the way. Legal services, shipping insurance. Yeah, we are still a world-class economy in certain areas, and we're also the eighth biggest manufacturer in the world. So it's not all doom and gloom by any means. Let's have a look at these numbers. These numbers are produced by the United Nations, which for various historic reasons tends to be the world's sort of leading authority on trade data. And as Kemi Badenoch, the Trade Secretary, has been highlighting over the last 24 hours, we are now the fourth largest exporter in the world after China, the US and Germany. And that's up from seventh in 2021. So it's a big rate of growth. Part of the reason why our exports are up is the growth of what we call professional services. They are financial services, legal services, insurance. We've also been very good at exporting, by the way, education. Yes, educational services. And on top of that, a big chunk of this increase in exports, Tom and Emily, comes from the fact that the US has been exporting what we call liquefied natural gas, LNG, to Europe. And it's in order to replace Russian gas that Western Europe has been using. And those LNG gas exports from America now the biggest exporter of LNG in the world, it just overtook Qatar, they come through the UK because we have better LNG docking ports in Milford Haven, in Wales, also the Isle of Grain in Kent, than other European nations. So we re-export a lot of that LNG gas through our interconnectors, which of course adds value. It's also worth saying, even though our professional services exports are up, total goods exports actually fell 4.4% over the last year. That's the one bit of worrying news in these new statistics. Of course, our goods exports include our manufacturing exports. We are still a major manufacturer, as I said. But for me, that's the one blot on the landscape. We have had a lot more exports from the UK, including exports to the European Union, by the way, which are at record levels, quotes, despite Brexit. Partly because of those energy re-exports from the US via the UK that I just mentioned, but partly also because of services that we're managing to export to the European Union. But it is a shame, I think, that our goods exports are falling, and that's the one area where I'd like to see the UK's trade performance improving.
Which areas could we boost exports in then? Goods. That covers all industries, pretty much. What could we improve at? Cars? What other things? Where are we lacking?
I think where we're lacking, and it's a really good question, I think where we're lacking is in competitiveness. Our skills shortage is now pretty serious. There are lots of vacancies in the UK economy, even though there are quite a few people out of work. And there's often what economists call occupational mismatch in those job vacancies. So the vacancies are demanding skills that the people who aren't working often don't have. Or there's geographic mismatch. People live in places where the jobs aren't demanded, but there's a shortage of people in areas where the jobs are demanded. So we've got some concerns there. But the real big headline for me in terms of UK competitiveness, Emily, and why our goods exports as opposed to our service sector exports are diminishing a little bit, is the price of energy in the UK. We pay more for our electricity, households and particularly firms than any other major Western European economy. That's for all kinds of reasons that you and I and Tom have discussed many times here on GB News. So I would like to see much, much cheaper energy, such as they have in France with lots of nuclear, Spain, even in Germany, energy tends to be cheaper than here in the UK, even though Germany had a huge reliance on Russian gas for its manufacturing complex, if you like. So for me, it's about competitiveness of goods exports, in particular manufacturing exports. And as pretty much any manufacturer will tell you, it's a very, very energy intensive business. And the price that our manufacturers have been paying for energy has been eye-watering over recent years, and there's not that much sign that it's coming down fast.
It's such a paradox about the UK economy. On the technical stuff, we do it so well. Financial services, bioscience, life sciences. But when it comes to basic things like energy, transport, housing, we're like a developing economy.
Frustrating.
We're upside down, aren't we? Liam Halligan,
frustrating.
thank you so much for bringing us the very latest there. At least some good news there. Exports to now the fourth largest exporter.
I just wish we could have cheap energy in this country. Is it too much to ask? Is it too much to ask of our politicians to sort that one out?
It's frustrating that one of the reasons our exports are high is because we're re-exporting American gas that they have got through fracking. And that's something that we've banned in this country, that has remained banned for the decade. Imagine if we'd have been using our own natural gas and exporting that. How much higher could we be? Could we be third in the world?
Could be, perhaps.